Hello and welcome back to the SuperCoach Corner podcast for another episode here for the upcoming 2026 AFL SuperCoach season. I'm Tyson. Joined alongside me is Darcy. Darcy, we're here to review the State of Origin. Did you catch much of the game last night?
Yep, Valentine's Day, mate. Still managed to sit down and catch it all, which was a great win for everyone. It was good. It was good. I was really looking forward to it. I mean, footy's finally back, so that was the biggest win out of all of it. But just to watch the biggest stars of the game up against each other and playing with each other was super exciting. So, I had a lot of fun and just made me even more excited for the season ahead.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. It was good to see footy's back. As much as it wasn't the real season, we're only a few weeks out from the main stuff happening. But if you are listening to us on audio, you're obviously on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but you can jump across to YouTube where we have all the visuals and everything, which can also help. But yeah, sometimes you're in the car and you're just listening to podcasts. You're listening to us now. But yeah, if you're on YouTube, jump across to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, drop us a follow, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And then also make sure you're following us on Instagram and Facebook, and then you don't miss anything. We'll always share some relevant news that come out and all of that kind of good stuff. Anything I missed there, Das?
Not really, mate. Maybe just the fact we have got a few leagues running this year. So we've got the Unlimited League for everyone to jump into and test yourself against the best. So the league code for that is, Tice?
728323. A lot better this time.
Yeah, very good, very good. And we've also got some cash leagues as well. So we've got $50 buy-in, $100 buy-in, $200 buy-in. So whatever tickles your fancy, yeah, feel free to reach out to us. And we've got spots available in all three of those. So they are filling up quick. So feel free, make sure you reach out. And we've also got a draft league running as well. So if you wanted to try your luck in draft this year, it is a lot of fun. Something a little bit different, but still same SuperCoach scoring. So, and it'll be a good community. We can get some banter going throughout the year and a nice group chat to discuss everything footy-wise. But other than that, Tice, I think we can just jump straight into the State of Origin. There is a bit of a caveat on a lot of this information that we'll get into. Obviously, with so many stars across the board, not everyone's playing full minutes in their preferred position, and they're not the star of their team like they usually are on a Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, lots of asterisks here and there, but I think there's a few things that stood out that were relevant to talk about today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into the SuperCoach scoring in terms of transitioning to the home and away season, like you said. But there is some stuff that we can nitpick at. There was a couple of injuries that happened. Obviously, the big one was Jacob Wiedering. We hope he's all right because that looked pretty bad. Saw him getting into the ambulance last night. So, yeah, hopefully he's all right. From a SuperCoach point of view, not too much relevance on that one. Maybe Harry Dean solidifies his spot a bit more for Carlton. That could probably be the only shining light out of that to put it on a dull situation, I guess.
Is Georgiades was out with hamstring awareness. Does that potentially mean Todd Marshall swings back playing forward? I don't know, but hopefully not. I think the halfback role looks pretty juicy for a Todd Marshall this year, but we'll wait and see. I think it was just a bit of awareness. He should be right for round one.
Yeah. Same with Matt Rao. Like all the blokes that went off for hamstring awareness, it was just awareness. Like, feel a bit in your hamstring, you're in a State of Origin game, not playing for your club, mate. So I'll just sit it out the rest. Like, it's not, you're not playing for premiership points or anything like that. So that's kind of why they do that. And it's the same you'll see during the practice matches in preseason as well. I feel a little niggle. Better not make it worse. That kind of stuff. Let's sit out. So that I wouldn't read too much into those. But in terms of the rucks, it's kind of the first point that we've seen the new ruck rules in play. What did you see out there, Das, in terms of SuperCoach scoring?
I don't think the between the arcs last disposal is going to have that much of an impact. I mean, it was sort of different yesterday because you had the best of the best. Kicking the ball, the quality of the ball use was a lot better than you probably would get in a normal game. But I mean, majority of the ones that were last disposal last night would have been deliberate anyway in a normal game. So yeah, the boundary throw-ins would have been reduced, but not by too much. I think the centre throw, how you can't cross the line, probably has more of an impact on someone like a Tristan Cherry, who doesn't have that huge leap. That's not his game. But it was sort of hard to read into the rucks last night because there's so many of them. I mean, Gawn, Sherry, or both played for Victoria. You got Tim English, Darcy Cameron, both played for Western Australia. And I think Luke Jackson was playing as well. Rory Lobb pinch hit in the ruck. Like there was guys. Sam Darcy I think attended a couple. So it was spread so thin that it's sort of hard to read into the scores themselves.
Yeah, it can't be looking too much into those ruck scores. It's not something we're going to see from this kind of state of origin game because obviously they're playing 2 or 3 rucks on each side. So, and genuine rucks at that. So we have to probably wait and see on the practice matches to see how that affects more so. So yeah, don't read too much into the ruck scores last night. Obviously, Gawn, Cherry, English all got sub 60 scores. So not going to read too much into that. But on the other side of the coin is someone who dominated the game, is probably a bit stiff to not win the EJ Whitten medal, in Nick Dacos. He just looked incredible, mate.
Just can't win a medal, can he? There's just something about it. They're just not giving him anything. But no, he looked incredible. He looked exactly like I wasn't starting him because of his bye. And watching last night, I'm like, you just, I don't know. Can you just not fade him? Like he's just so good. He looked so good. Playing against the best, he still looked a class above. So scored 133, had 38 touches, kicked a goal. And on limited minutes as well. So yeah, it's going to be hard to keep him out of our sights.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He just looked incredible, man. Like that, even just that little setup play in the first quarter where he hit up Bont in the forward line. He just looks so composed. Like you can't be doing that. It's just, it's crazy. It looked like he couldn't miss a target. But it's just that round 2 buy. You're buying him for 1 round, which is Adelaide. Don't know how he's going to go in round 0 with a tag possibly that we suspect from St Kilda. I don't think I'm buying him for just the Adelaide game to then have him lose a week when I could just buy him after round 2 if like I have a failed premium. I don't know.
I'm kind of hoping he does get the tag in that opening round. He scores a 60 or a 70, and then you can sort of safely fade him in round 1 and eye him off after his bye because he'll drop a little bit in price. That's sort of ideal. But then if he goes and drops 140 in round 0, he might just be out of our reach forever. So I think round 0 will play a big part in whether or not we start Nick Dacos. But if that game's anything to go by, he will be in a lot of people's sides come round 1. Another midfielder that was out there, Tice, who doesn't normally play there, and there was a lot of chat about it in the preseason, is Luke Jackson. Didn't really attend a ruck contest, but attended a lot of centre bounces as a pure inside mid. What do you think? Is it? I mean, he only scored 57, so it didn't translate great. But again, he didn't get huge minutes and was up against the best. Is that something we want? Like, does it make him more relevant, less relevant?
I think the fact that he's playing majority as a CBA mid in a stacked lineup just is a big tick for me. He doesn't have to score that well, but the fact that they rate him as one of the better midfielders for that WA side, it just shows how good he can be. You obviously had Longmuir and Dean Cox up there as well, so they were all trying stuff. So they clearly wanted to see it. I think it's a big tick. To see him line up forward was a bit of a red flag, but we can't look at it too much into the state of origin game because you could say that about all of the premium midfielders that were on the Victorian side. Half of them were just sitting in the forward line because you can't fit 10 blokes into a 4-spot midfield. So you can't read into it too much, but I like it. I still like it, just at least seeing it in this game. But yeah. Another guy that did play midfield for WA, though, Will Powell, does this translate to Gold Coast?
Well, we heard a lot of chatter amongst Gold Coast and that he is training with the midfield this year. I didn't tickle my fancy all too much because they're just so stacked in there. So I didn't know how much of a midfield role he'd get. But the fact that he was getting centre bounce attendance since last night for WA when they had their fair share of star midfielders as well, that makes me think that there's every chance that he does the exact same thing for Gold Coast. As a defender, nicely priced. I don't have his price in front of me, but
428k. So
Yeah, 428k as a defender. If he is playing, 40, 50% plus CBAs, I think it's really tempting.
Yeah, the thing is that really goes in his favour as well. Like the round 3 buy is also annoying. We hate the early buys from a fantasy point of view, but uh, their run early on is so favourable that you kind of need to look at starting a Gold Coast premium or a good Gold Coast scorer just because of they start round 1 and round 2 is West Coast and Richmond. They have their bye. Then they've got Melbourne. Then they have Sydney. But Essendon after that, that's the first 6 rounds for Gold Coast. That's what's I mean, it's a bit relevant because we're talking about Will Power, but that's what's getting me to try and start Noah Anderson or like an Ugle Hagen and stuff because they can post the large scores at the front of the year and then you can get the head start on the competition. So if Will Power is going to be a midfielder, might be worth the shout against the lesser sides because they can trial him against West Coast and Richmond and see how it plays out. But they are stacked in that midfield. So we just have to wait and see what his fair share is. We do have round 0 for that, which is good.
Yeah, it is alarming. Like he plays 1 or 2 bad games and he's out of there straight away. I think Took Noah's training as a halfback, so he plays 1 bad game as a midfielder. They probably just swap. So yeah, there is that that sort of threat hanging over his head, which could be a little bit alarming. A couple other players, Ty, who I thought played really well last night and sort of stand themselves as a little bit more Supercoach relevant. Toby Green, we chatted about him recently in our Giants preview. Sort of underpriced a little bit just because he had, from his standards, a little bit of a down year last year, but he looked really good last night. Kicked 2 goals, I think, and had a fair bit of the ball and just kept presenting at the ball. Had 18 touches, took 11 marks, so looked really good. And then Adam Kingsley came out during the week saying he will be getting a lot more midfield time this year. So he said whether that's a 50-50 split or however that works, he will be playing midfield. So if we can get an informed Toby up forward, pinch hitting in the midfield, I really like it. Is it something that's on your radar at all as 440k forward?
Yeah, it's very nice. And we're very, like, we don't have a lot of options that we see as the top 8 forwards in the forward line at the moment. Obviously, DPP will change halfway through the year, and whether we get someone like a Bonta or a Heaney or something like that, that obviously they obviously shoot to the top of the list. But at the moment, if you have a Toby Green that who's playing 50-50, he's almost a walk up into that top 8 forward. So he's someone that you want. And at 441k, there's no Tom Green now, like because of his injury. It's probably something we need to consider more. I don't even know how many sides he's in, but he wouldn't even be in that many.
No.
Yeah. So I like the Toby Green shout. It's definitely a pot.
Yeah, definitely. He's in 1.3% of sides at the moment. So definitely a pod and just one to watch out on. I mean, Stephen Cornelio played last night. He scored 66. He looked okay, I thought. I thought he looked like he was running on top of the ground like he used to. So that's a big tick in my eyes. But yeah, it's just whether we just have to wait and see how that Giants midfield stacks up and sort of who goes where and who gets the midfield minutes. So if it is Toby Green, if he's getting 30% plus, I think, Ty's midfield minutes, I'll be all over it. So I just want to wait and see the preseason. But I think he, even as a pure forward, he has scored well in the past, and he looked like he's back to his best last night against really good opposition, obviously. So I think even as a pure forward, he could push that top 8, top 10 count. And then if he's adding midfield minutes into that as well, watch out. I think it could be a really good point of difference to start the team. Some of the talking points from last night, Tice, is Jordan Clark. It's under an injury cloud this time last week, and then came out last night, looked really good, took the kickouts, didn't play on from a couple of them, but he played on from 3 of his 5 and had 27 touches, I believe, and looked like there wasn't any injuries hampering him.
No, definitely did not have any injuries hampering him, which is good to see because there was a bit of a scare earlier in the week. Yeah, the kick-ins, yeah, it was not. It was good to see him have kick-ins. The annoying part is he didn't play on from all of them because you don't get points for not playing on from a kick-in. So, yeah, you have the odd quick kick-in, and that's what we saw when he didn't to try and get the play rolling. But, yeah, that's a little bit frustrating. If I was a Jordan Clark owner, I'd want to see more than that. Yeah, no, but it's probably a positive sign to see him get 27 touches and that kind of stuff. Another player that we might just touch on quickly to us is a premium midfielder, one of your favourites, and he sort of sat up forward a lot. Zach Merritt kicked a couple of goals, got 20 touches still. Do you like what you saw from him?
Yeah, I loved it. He's in my side at the moment, as we've spoken about recently. And yeah, he played a little bit of forward. He played a bit in the midfield as well. I can only assume he's going to be playing midfield for Essendon. The role itself didn't throw me off at all, but just the way he's just moving so well, and he's such a class act. Like you said, kicked 2 goals, had 20 touches. After that, I think he's just locked away on my side. I think he's such a good point of difference. I think the no buy is huge early on. Like, it's going to set you apart when other people are picking their pods from those big clubs with the early buy, which will sort of set them back a little bit. I love the Zach Merritt pick. Every time I see it, every time I think about it, I get more and more on board. So he's one that I was super keen on last night.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to throw a question here on the fly, and I hope you have your team in front of you, because how many premium midfielders, like above 500k, we're not including Hayden Young and Parrish and all that, how many above 500k do you currently have in your side?
I currently have 4 above 500k, but it could be 3. It depends on my ruck situation, but 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay. I've got 4 as well with 2 premium rucks. I'm a bit light on in the other lines. But I just like the makeup of my team now. I prefer to go 3, but the 4 that I've picked, I'm so sold on in starting in SuperCoach. And I guess we're getting into our teams rather than the state of origin. But you have all those premium midfielders that played last night. Everyone wants to select all of them. You just have to try and pick the right ones that are undervalued. And the ones you start, you got to see a bit of undervalue in, or at least a good starting run. Maybe you can't get on them later. They might stay up too high, like your Zach Butters. It's probably a lock to start in a lot of people's side. So, it's interesting. Have you seen too much from last night? Obviously, you said Nick Dacos. He dropped 133. There's a certain amount of SuperCoach points that go around in a game. And to have 7 on the bench from each side with all superstars, to score 133 is amazing. Like, does he sneak his way into your side now?
He will. I think, like I touched on before, I think round 0 will play a huge part in it. If he gets tagged and has a poor game round 0, then I'll probably target him early on and try and get him after he drops a little bit of a price. But if he has a good game in round 0 and I just feel like there's no other way for me to start him, he'll be in my side. And you just cop that round 2 or round 3 buy. He was probably the one I think that stood out. Like Butters, Bailey Smith, those sort of guys. It's like Kayla Sarong. They all looked good last night. They didn't lose any points. Bont had an incredible game, but the rest of them, like, they just played great footy that we know they were going to play. Yeah, for me, it was Nick stood up above the rest, and there's a bit of bias, but I thought Zach Merritt was incredible, and just looked the part. Another thing I wanted to touch on, Tice, and again, it is positional wise. They threw Will Powell through the midfield that we talked about. Trent Rivers didn't get a look in, which I don't know if it's just because they needed that extra defender, but he played all night of halfback. So I want to see how that translates to Melbourne's practice matches. But I was really hoping to see him in the midfield last night, but we didn't get to see that.
Yeah. And obviously it's a bit of a theatrical kind of thing. Like Chad Warner wasn't even in the midfield too much. He was there for parts, only racked up 16 touches, but can't read too much into the State of Origin game. That pretty much wraps this podcast up. Nice short one on the review. So unless you've got anything else you wanted to add, Dust?
No, that's about it. It was good fun. It was a nice game to watch. And like I said, just makes us even more excited to watch even more footy. So I think the unofficial practice matches start on Monday. So tomorrow, I think it's Hawks and Geelong kick us off tomorrow afternoon. So we'll be keeping an eye on those, and keep an eye on our socials for anything important from them. And we'll be coming to you with more episodes and more videos. Just summing that all up, and anything that any notes you need to take from that, we'll be here giving it to you first. So I think that's it, mate. If you have any
Yeah.
other questions, feel free to reach out to us. But I will also be continuing with our team previews throughout the week.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Das.
Perfect. Thanks, Tice.
Cheers, mate.